I'd be valedictorian of Lowbuys. That's a good breakthrough. Hey y'all, welcome to Have Fun, Be Nice, Do Good Work. Today we're doing a Lowbuy year check-in. If you haven't already watched my video where I laid out my rules for a Lowbuy 2025, I encourage you to check it out. It's linked below. But as a refresher, here is a big old table of all of my rules. Today I'm mostly going to focus on those columns of no buy and low buy, and I'll go category by category and see how I did in each one. Starting with the no buy column, in the clothes category, I did buy a t-shirt. I'm going to talk more about it later, so stay tuned for the story on the t-shirt. Books. I did buy a pattern book. My very kind in-laws got me a gift certificate to Barnes & Noble, and I don't like to read with my eyeballs. I like audiobooks. And so there wasn't really anything at Barnes & Noble that I wanted to buy. So I used it to buy a pattern book, which is something I will use. And that's within my rules because I used a gift certificate, but I did have to pay for the shipping. So potato, potato. I'm not sure if that counts as breaking the rule or not, but I'm glad that I spent the gift card and have that off my list. And I'm excited to have a pattern book coming up in the mail, just in time for my birthday. Stationery. Listen, I'm not going to give myself a grade on how I have done on my low buy because that's not the vibe I'm going for this. But if I were, the stationery category alone would give me an A+++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++ I would be valedictorian of low buys because this planner has been haunting me. Instagram was like, hey, do you want this planner? And I was like, yeah, I do. And they knew that. And then they showed it to me all the time. And it's just, do you ever think like, there it is. There's the thing that's going to get my life together. That's how I feel about this planner. And I haven't bought it and I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to do it. New beauty items. I did get some beauty items as part of a subscription, which was paid for last year. It's just an annual subscription, so I got some things in there, but I didn't buy any extras to go with it. And I did buy a bottle of perfume, which was finishing up a 24 for 24 goal, which was to find my new signature scent. I had it sort of picked out by the end of the year. I just hadn't bought it. Again, it's a little bit of like, well, it fell in this calendar year. I don't really think of it as buying this year because I had planned to buy it last year. Shoes, nada, didn't buy any. Organizational tools, didn't even think about it. New app subscriptions. I'm really glad that I put this on the list because it is so easy to just try something and, oh yeah, let me try the Pro, and then all of a sudden you have 18 subscriptions. I did end up subscribing to Canva Pro because I just was feeling so frustrated with trying to design thumbnails and things for these videos and not being able to use the designs that I wanted. That is already an area that I find creatively challenging, so worth it to have that subscription. I do think, though, I might cancel. I have Kindle Unlimited, which is an Amazon product, Kindle Unlimited. I think I will cancel that. Those two will balance each other out financially, and also I'm just not using Kindle Unlimited that much, if at all. I did do a free trial of another app. It was like a clean my phone app, and it's up in a few days. So I do need to cancel that. And my illustrious editor will let you know right now if I successfully did that. Instant Amazon buys. This is another one that I feel like I crushed, and it's partially because of the low buy mentality that I've been adopting, but it's also because I have become quite disillusioned with Amazon and enormous companies in general, and so I have just been avoiding even being on Amazon. The only things that we still get from Amazon are subscriptions, like our dog food comes every 3 weeks because our dogs eat so much food. But even those, I just need to get organized to get those from other companies. I still want to get a subscription though, because I tell you what, buying a 40-pound bag of dog food every 3 weeks, not that fun. Like zero fun. And lastly, small batch delivery. Crushed it. This was exactly the thing that I needed. Just this little rule was enough to stop me and say, hey, do you really need to get that thing delivered? Do you really need to have that thing? No, I don't need it. And if I really want it, I can go get it. Okay, now for my Lowbuy column, starting with potions and makeup replacements. I did buy a couple of replacements. Yeah, nothing exciting to talk about there. Thrifting, I did go thrifting only one time and I stayed within my criteria. Necessary home items, I didn't buy anything for the house. Oh, that's a lie. I did buy batteries. I don't think that counts. That sort of falls into groceries in my mind. Replacement item. Yarn. I didn't totally follow my rules of yarn purchases, but I did largely. And this was the area that not struggle, struggle's a strong word. This is an area that caused me to initially look at doing the Lowbuy year because of my spending and acquiring habits in the yarn arena. So that's a piece of it. And then the other piece of it is that I've had more opportunities to buy yarn because of the rules that I set into place. So more on that later. Plants, crushed it. I haven't bought any new plants, and the one that I bought is still alive. just checking to make sure. It is still alive. Knitting notions. All right, this is one that I had a bit too vague of a rule about. I did buy some double pointed needles, which was on my list. I said I wanted to get them on sale, and I did get them on sale, but I also got them with a gift certificate, so they didn't cost any money. So that's great. I did though buy some like little notions, like little embroidery scissors and stitch markers, things like that. And I didn't really account for that in my rules. I'm not sure if that counts as breaking the rules since it wasn't really there. I think I'm going to tighten that rule up a little bit so that I just feel a little bit more settled and like I'm not questioning so much. Like, should I buy this thing? Is it bad for me to buy this thing? That is not the intent of this challenge. This is a zero shame challenge. So I think I'm going to tighten that rule up a little bit, but also make it so that I can buy a little practical souvenir. Fabric, didn't buy a thing. And Black Friday, obviously not applicable yet because it is February. So I have been trying to keep track. Hello, my angel. No, it's not time for dinner. Is it because I'm sitting at the table that you think that? What a good girl. She's thirsty. She's a thirsty baby. Whew, she's hydrated now. Okay, bye. I have been keeping track of my empties, mostly cosmetics. Once I'm done with them, I just put them in this little pouch so that I know I can sort of keep track. Yes, do you want to see it? So I can keep track of what all I've used. And this has been really nice because it's just that little extra incentive to go shopping in my own collection. I have a lot of like little bits and bobs, like little one-off face masks and things like that. And it's really nice when I use them, and I often don't think to use them. So this is a helpful tactic for that. Bye, Lacey. So there's not, this isn't that exciting, but I finished off a moisturizer. I finished off a deodorant. I used some little eye pads. I finished a mascara. And these masks, listen, this is not sponsored, but this mask was amazing. My sister actually gave it to me. She gave me a whole set of them. Woo! I love them. Let me go open the door before my dog tunnels through. this kind of thing might seem silly or it might not be everybody's cup of tea, but for me, it really is a great reminder that part of the reason I don't want to go acquiring things is because I want to use what I have. And it's so gratifying to use something all the way down to the bottom. Just my Carmex, I have like 4 Carmexes that are getting ready for this because they're like, oh, there's like one more use in each one. It's going to be good. I've also used a considerable amount of yarn. I'm not going to show that to you in this video if that is your cup of tea. If you happen to be on the Lowbuy and also knitting crochet journey, then you can check out my next video. I'll show you my finished objects from February. I will say that I have made 2 sweaters since the beginning of the year, and I am just getting ready to start a dress. I bought a pattern last night to start sewing a dress. So I think for me, sewing is a very slow process still because I'm really new. So it's like, tonight I will print out the pattern. Tomorrow I will cut the fabric. It's that level. That's my speed. But maybe in a week or 2 I'll have a dress. And it's from fabric I already have. I did make a list of everything that I bought, and I'm not going to go down the whole list because do you really want to hear every single thing that I bought? No, I don't want to tell you either. It's boring. But I do want to talk about those that are sort of in the gray area or straight up broke some rules, because that is the point of reflection for me, is like, okay, well, why did you break this rule? And does it mean the rule is bad? Does it mean that you aren't committed to the rule? Or does it mean that, like, you know, sometimes rules are made to be broken? All right, this is the part of the video that I think is the most important, and that is my reflections over the past 2 months of doing this challenge. I have been keeping notes when I feel a certain way, when I feel the impulse to buy something. I've been screenshotting something and then writing a note about, why do I want to buy this? Why do I feel pulled? So I'm just going to talk about those things sort of in the order that I wrote them down over the course of the 2 months. The first thing is that I had established as a tactic this idea of having really high standards for what I would bring into my house. So even if it's a thrift store item and it's not expensive, I'm not worried about spending the money, I still want it to be a high quality item. And that has really helped. Just like sprinkling a little bit of like snobbiness into my outlook has been really helpful. Because for me, the idea, the promise of a bargain, the promise of a deal, and oh my gosh, something free, I will take it. Whatever it is, I want it, yes. So I need to balance that out with a little bit of snobbiness, like a little bit of bougie, like that's not coming into my house. For some people, they might already feel that way, and then they think, but actually I need to be more conscious of how much money I'm spending, so let me lower those standards a little bit. For me, having those standards has helped my consumption considerably. My tactic of shopping through what I already own has been really helpful as well. The skincare, like I previously mentioned, those little one-off masks, using those makes me feel really glamorous and like I have everything I need. I also use Ravelry. For those of you who are not in the Yarny community, Ravelry is a website that has patterns for knitting and crochet. And I use that as my platform to organize patterns that I want to make in the future. And there are new patterns added every day. So I often will just scroll through and look at what new patterns there are. Even that, it doesn't cost any money to scroll through those. But I have started, instead of scrolling through the new patterns, going back to my favorites, because I've already favorited many, many, many patterns. So I just go through those and sort of get re-inspired by the ideas I already had. And that's been really interesting to think about this whole Lowbuy challenge as just an acquisition challenge, a low acquisition challenge. I'm not going to acquire any more new ideas. I mean, not any new ideas, of course, but I think that limiting that has actually freed up my brain. I'm actually just putting this together right now. is that this week, today in particular, I felt like I had so many ideas that were coming from inside instead of ideas that were coming from things I was acquiring. And I wonder how much of that is related to the fact that I have been just shopping within myself, within my own stash. Whether that stash is my yarn stash or that stash is the little treasure trove of ideas I have in my heart and my mind. That's a good breakthrough. The Amazon thing is amazing. I have an Amazon Prime card, which I use for Amazon purchases and Whole Foods purchases only. And every time I have to track those expenses of that card, snooze fest. I hate it. It's because they all just say Amazon and I don't know what it's for. And sometimes it lives in the grocery category and sometimes it lives in my personal shopping category and sometimes it's home goods. And oftentimes I don't even remember having bought the thing. So this time around, as I've been doing my end of month finance checks, it's been really wonderful to just look up like the 2 things that I purchased on Amazon. In fact, besides subscriptions, like my Amazon subscribe and save things, I think I only made 2 purchases and they were in January. And they followed all the other rules and it made it so much easier to scroll through and figure out what categories to assign those things to. It's silly, but that piece, that's the piece that really gets me. There's a dog barking. Look at that. Look at that guilty dog. She was barking. Weren't you, honey? Yeah, she's a good girl. I just looked down and realized I have dog hair all over my shirt, and I'm not gonna apologize for it, and I'm not even gonna try and get the dog fur off because the dog is still here. She's just gonna shed on me some more. Aren't you my sweet angel? Okay. So it's time to talk about the yarn thing. If you watched my first video, you already know about the Buffy yarn. I bought this yarn I think on New Year's Day, or maybe the 2nd. And it was a 2023 yarn subscription that was themed on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is my favorite show of all time because it's the greatest show of all time. And I bought 2 skeins of it and I was like, all right, that's kind of breaking the challenge, but like, I love it. I love that show, right? I've already justified that one in my last video, so I'm not going to do it again. But it just like every week or 2, I would think about it. I'd think like, I wonder if they have any left. Even though I felt pretty sure they didn't. There was one colorway left. And I'm not going to spoil it for you if you have not seen Buffy, but oh, there's a birdie. But it is the colorway themed on Angel after a very important night. And that's the only one that is not sold out because everyone's like, it hurts too much. I don't want that one. But there was another one, okay, there was a single skein left. And it was the Buffy one. Every month was a different character, and it was the Buffy character, like the main character, right? And it was called If the Apocalypse Comes, Beat Me, which is iconic Buffy line, and it's a really cute pink. Pink is my favorite color. Can you tell that pink is my favorite color? Okay, so this is the deal, is I saw that it was ready. I saw that it was available, and I was like, not gonna get it. Nope. Not gonna get it. I don't need that yarn. What am I gonna do with that yarn? I've got plenty of yarn. I have everything I need. And then I looked at it a couple weeks later and it was still there. I bought it. I bought it today. In preparing for this video, I bought it. And I stand by the fact that this is a shame-free process. This is a shame-free challenge. And I don't want to feel bad about buying it. I do want to be mindful of why I bought it, understand the psychology that might have affected why I bought it, and also really commit to what it means moving forward. Now, I mentioned this in my last Lowbuy video that when your worlds collide like this, right? Like my favorite show and this hobby that I'm really into, it's like it's hard to say no to that. And it doesn't happen that often. So it's not like this is not going to start a purge, not a purge. This is not going to start a yarn buying bender. I'm so sorry, Angel. I should keep petting you, huh? Stop gesticulating and start petting. So I don't think I don't think I need to worry about feeling like I'm over justifying it. It is a unique circumstance. I didn't need to buy it. It was definitely a choice to buy it. I also think that it's important to note the fact that there was one left and it was a limited time color, right? It's like a limited time series of colors. And that scarcity mindset is something that businesses use all the time now, right? To get us to buy things. So I am mindful that that certainly played a role. And there was also a little piece of me that was like, well, it's still there. You checked it a month ago and now it's still there. They saved it for you. I know that's not true. But it felt like, all right, you waited 2 months. You can have the thing. Like the marshmallow test. Like I deserve like 1,000 marshmallows right now. Except if it were a marshmallow in front of me, I would have eaten it right away because I love marshmallows. Okay, related to the Buffy yarn, actually, is other yarn. The yarn situation, I've had so much opportunity to buy yarn. Within my rules, I am allowed to buy yarn when I am traveling on the road. I am generally looking for a local yarn, either a local dyer or a local fiber type, right? Like the sheep that lives down the road. I want it to be something local, and I want it to be a mini skein, and I need it to be a certain size yarn. And gosh, I have so much to say that I can't even, like, my brain won't funnel it. I'll start by saying, because I think it's a good flip side to the scarcity Buffy yarn idea, is that I went to several yarn stores. I went to 5 yarn stores while I was traveling for work. And the last one in particular, they had my number. So many beautiful yarns. And at yarn stores, they usually have samples knitted up of the yarn so you can see what it will look like in fabric form. And they had one that I just adored, and I could have bought $100 worth of yarn in that moment. And I felt no qualms at all about just taking a picture and thinking, maybe someday I will try this yarn out. I don't need to buy it today. I didn't feel pulled to buy it. Although I did feel quite pulled to someday use it. It was the opposite of the Buffy experience, where it was like, oh, this is meant for you. This was like, that's beautiful yarn, and maybe someday I'll use it. Goodbye. It was amazing. And I left that store with a tiny little skein of yarn that cost $8, exactly what I came in for. So that was an interesting piece of that puzzle. Another piece of the yarn puzzle is that I am looking for a mini skein because I am making a blanket. And each skein will go into a small square, and then that's it. I don't have a plan for the rest of the yarn. So I'm not looking to get a bunch of yarn for this thing. But there were 2 stores that didn't have mini skeins. No, 3. 3 out of the 5 did not have mini skeins. And the first one was a little bit more unique situation, but the other 2, I ended up getting full skeins of hand-dyed yarn, which is pretty expensive for comparatively, right? I think a mini skein, most of my mini skeins are around $8, but the full skeins that I got on this tour were $36 and then $42 for a full skein that came with a mini skein as a set. Now, this is not about the money, because I am happy to pay money for a local dyer to have infused this yarn with their creativity and then used a local owner, business shop owner who I am now talking to face. I'm happy to spend money in that pipeline. So it's, yes, $36 is a lot of money for yarn, and I'm happy to pay that money. But what am I going to do with the yarn? It's like a big old skein of yarn. Here's the thing is, every time I got the big skein, the little kid in me was like, hey, I beat the system. I scammed them again. I was supposed to get a mini skein, but they didn't have it. What was I supposed to do? Isn't that weird? Like, I'm almost 44 years old, and I still felt like I got away with something. Like I stole the last cookie or something. So interesting. The other piece of the yarn puzzle, you can see how yarn is the thing that inspired this exploration into a Lowbuy challenge for the year. The last piece of the puzzle is that, I have this quest. When I'm on the road for work, I want to go to as many local yarn stores as possible, as well as visit as many carousels as possible, particularly historic carousels. And on this trip, I only got to 2 carousels, just because there weren't as many as I thought there would be. But I did get to 5 yarn stores. And I felt that it was a little bit, there was a teensy bit of compulsion, maybe, obsession about getting to the store. Not even to buy something, but just to check it off the list. It goes back to the acquisition thing. Part of it is to buy the yarn to make the blanket, but part of it is just to have acquired one more. To say, I went to 5 stores instead of 4. It's like I'm collecting these experiences. I don't think that's good or bad. I'm not passing any kind of judgment on that. It just was interesting to have an awareness of it. I'm the same way with carousels. It's like I will work to get to a carousel. And my sister, who supports my carousel habit wholeheartedly, she's like that with national parks. That woman will go out of her way to get a stamp in her national parks passport. And it is a little bit of that acquisition, I think. I'm going to have to talk to her about it now and find out what she thinks. The other piece of the going to all the stores that I think is important is, this is something I know about myself, is that when times are uncertain, as they are here in February of 2025, I do feel a lot of desire to plan, to meticulously plan. Organizing and planning, those are 2 of my sort of coping mechanisms when things are feeling unsure. It gives me some control over my life. It's like, well, yeah, everything's crumbling, but my books are in color order, or I figured out how to get to this yarn store even though there was only 30 minutes of open time between, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Just logistics is one of my favorite coping mechanisms. One other little tidbit in the yarn world. Good Lord, I really love yarn, I guess. In my rules, there's a yarn store that I want to go see in California, and it's just a few blocks from a hotel that I'm planning on staying at. And so, yes, that one stands. But my husband and I are going on a road trip in the summer, and another yarn store that I have been really intrigued by is right next to where we're staying. So I am going to go to that yarn store, and I am going to buy something there. I am considering, though, canceling one of my subscriptions. I do have 2 Yarny subscriptions. One of them I paid for the year in advance, and I love it, and there's no canceling it anyway. But the other, I think you can cancel after each one. The first shipment comes in March. March is my birthday month anyway, so I'm excited about that. I think I might see how it is, and then I might sort of trade, just like I did with that Canva subscription. Trade. Okay, I'm gonna give up this subscription, this this club, this yarn club, and instead go visit this yarn store where I have more control over what I'm getting. I just don't need. I don't need that much yarn in my life. Okay, I feel it's important to close by reminding myself and anybody watching that this challenge for me is not about right or wrong. It's not really about following the rules exactly or else. It is about understanding myself better and feeling like I am sort of steering the boat of my life. I don't think shame ever works. And I think we're all coming from different places in this low-buy mentality. And so sometimes we do need to be stricter with ourselves. I have been in that place. Right now, I am not in that place. And I know myself well enough to know that sometimes when I try to be very, very strict, it sort of backfires. So, still committed, still 100% committed. The year is just beginning, you know? It's only been 2 months, just shy of 2 months. Today's the 25th, so a couple more days in February. But it has been already so eye-opening, and it's given me so much to think about and to reflect on. And I know that it's going to deepen my understanding as the year goes on. I know I'm just scratching the surface of all of the thoughts and beliefs that I have stored deep in my brain about consumption, about acquisition, about spending money, all of those things. Yeah. Thank you, as always. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, you are a champion, and thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, have fun, be nice, and do good work. So, I want that much yarn in my life, and if I had a mansion, oh, I would have a whole wing of yarn. Each room, all yarn. And then there'd be a salad bar because I love salad bars. Yeah, there'd be like a salad bar and a boba station. I would be really good at being insanely wealthy.